Hello and welcome to your next tutorial in Visual Basic. And in this tutorial, I'm going to go through that class program that we made in the last tutorial, and we're going to be learning about properties. So allow me to kind of actually explain how our little application works, because it's kind of confusing. So first, we instantiated our object here, or in other words, created an instance of our object with a class salary. So our object is citizen. You can make as many as you want with salary, doesn't matter. And you can actually assign different values for each one, and we'll learn how to do that with properties later, actually. So we created citizen, and this little piece of code, so when we click our citizen button on our form here, what will happen is an input box will come up, and you type in your salary. It's a string, so we need to create a new variable that is equal to that string that's converted from a string to a numerical value. So we used a double. And then, using our citizen object, we passed in, as a parameter, that number into the only public procedure in that class. Everything else is private, our variables, the other procedure, the functions, just so other areas of the program can't access those different features. We want to be careful. Only from the balance function can they, or the procedure. So now going into our little thing here, we now go into the only public subroutine we have here. So salary is now equal to what we passed in. So we'll be using 100,000 just as an easy number to read. And we have these two numbers here. So the first one is the price. We just set it equal to 0 for no adequately explored reason. Just set it to whatever you want. It doesn't really matter, actually. And then later, we set price equal to this function, the federal income tax, passing salary as a parameter, which is right here. So now it went in as a parameter, now it's going to go into another parameter. So salary is just being thrown everywhere, really. So then we go into the tax federal cost, or the income tax, passing salary in, and then all it does is return that salary number times our constant, the tax federal, which we can change up here anytime we'd like. So now price will be equal to how much we'll be paying for our federal income tax. And then the display menu just displays it. And I actually made a little bit of a mistake. Right here, I accidentally just had quotes here. I was talking about in the previous video how we want each of those boxes that shows each number to tell us which tax we'll be talking about. And you might have seen they were blank. It's because when I passed these second parameters in as strings right here, I didn't change this to tax dot toString. I should have made an annotation in my last video. I will be doing that, so you'll probably know anyways. But yeah, so now it'll actually show it. And these don't need to be toStrings right here. I don't know why I did that. But anyway, so it displays it, and then our final budget, which starts out equal to whatever our total salary was to begin with. We keep subtracting price, which at the time will be equal to whatever that specific tax is. So when we do the state income tax, it'll then take whatever the new value is after subtracting the federal income tax, then subtract the state income tax. Then at the very end it shows us what we're left with. So let's check this out. So I click citizen, I'll type in 100,000. See, now it says federal income tax up there even though it didn't quite fit. So 15% is our 15,000, and then right here the final budget will be equal to that 100,000 minus equals that 15,000. So now it's down to 85,000, and then it will be subtracting another 6,000, bringing us down to 79,000 for the end budget. And that's all really for that. So let's move on to properties. Now, what are properties? Basically what they do is they allow you to control the value of a variable inside of a class. So it's really, really neat. For specific objects. So for different objects, that specific variable will have a different value. So let's create another variable up here. Let's call it the property tax. I think I spelled that right. And let's not set it equal to anything right now. What our property will do is, depending on the object we'll be talking about, if they're making 100,000 or more, let's make their property tax 4%. If they're making less than 100,000, let's make it only 2%. Yeah, it's not quite fair doubling it on people, but eh, well, it depends how much you make, how much you need your money. But so let's create our public property here. So public property. Oh, there we go. And we want it to be public so we can access it from our form 1. And what should we call it? Let's just call it wealth. And since we'll be returning a double, we already know we'll be returning a double because we'll be returning how much the tax property will be worth. And I actually have to manually type in end property. My copy of Visual Studio doesn't automatically put it there for us, or for me. And then type in get and enter. Then the rest of the template will appear for you. So within the get, basically all that goes there is our return. Return, then a variable. So I'm not going to worry about this yet. I'll explain it in a moment. For our set, what this does is it actually creates a variable for us that pretty much acts as a parameter. And these two data types here must be the same. I cannot stress that enough. They must be the same, otherwise we'll get errors. Let me actually try that right now. There we go, see, error. So, just so you see, I mean, some tutorial people don't show things when they say things when it would take them 2 seconds to show them. So, anyway, so within our if statement, so this value, it can be you can call it whatever you want. I'll just leave it as value, and that will be equal to whatever our income is. So this will represent that 100,000 greater than or less than whatever. So using a series of if statements. So if value is greater than or equal to 100,000, then let's set our tax property equal to 4%, right? And then we'll want an else. So if it's any other value, which will have to be less than 100,000, tax property will have to be equal to 2%. There we go. So it's going to be so basically, depending on what we pass in, depending on how much or what we'll be passing in right here, if it's greater than or equal to 100,000, then our tax property will be 4%. If it's less than that, it will be 2%. And then up here in our get, we will want to return tax property. There we go. And that's pretty much all it does. So I click save, and that should work. So now going to our form 1 here, what I would like to do is create another object here. And let's just call it Adam. Let's make it me this time. I'll just be a specific citizen. As new salary. And what would I like to do? Create another button actually. So copy, paste. So this will be all me. My keyboard is so loud. It's not my keyboard that's loud. It's my the thingamajigger that pulls out the tray. Okay, so in here we'll now be accessing my me basically. And should I do the same thing here? I could probably do the very same thing here. I could just copy this, paste it. So all this does right here is it allows you to type in your own salary. And I'll be accessing that. So Adam dot, now we have wealth right here, a property that we created. And empty parameters, parentheses, and set that equal to a number. Let's just set it equal to salary con, so whatever we type in. And we want to be able to display it. So let's create a public, another public procedure here, or a public subroutine. Procedure, same thing really. So display tax. So all it will do is tell us this number. All that we return is the 0.04 or the 0.02, and that's it. So message box dot show, and what am I going to be throwing in here? Oh yeah, tax property. Dot toString. And oh come on, man, what's going on here? So property, tax amount, and do we need anything else? Just throw in an OK here. And that's all that. So just display the tax property, how much our property tax is. So then I want to go back here and access that. So Adam dot, where is it? Display tax. So I think everything should work there. So if I click save and run this, if I click Adam, if I put in 100,000 or more, so let's put in 150,000. Property tax amount is the 4%. However, if I do this again and I make it, I don't know, 75,000, now it's only 2% instead. Now, what do you think will happen if I go down here and then I type out citizen instead, and then I type out, let's see here, display tax? Yeah. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting and why we have properties. Because that tax, we don't want it to be universal. This is a tax, this will be a specific tax, and this is real life too, really. This is a specific tax that will change, the rate will change depending on how much you make. For property tax in real life, it actually depends on how much your property is actually worth. If you live in one of those multi-million-dollar mansions, it will be closer to 4%, while if you're in more of a middle class, it'll probably be more like 1.5%, 2% kind of a thing. So this is not a constant rate, and this is why I'm showing it to you with the property tax, because it does change, it does vary, depending on the person. So, and now of course I'm not actually asking, where's the code? Not right here, right here. So I'm not asking the person enter the value of your home. I'm asking for their salary. So this has nothing to do with determining your property tax. But I could just put in enter your. Yeah, I can just do that. Home's value. Now of course 100,000 would be insane at that point. Let's actually change that. I could change that really quickly to make it more realistic. So it was above 1 million. So I'll throw in another. That's more realistic. But anyways, let's do this again. So if I run this, now the difference what I want to show you is we're not going to be setting citizen.wealth equal to anything. So what do you think the display tax will be when it pops up? Do you think it will be the same as Adam.displayTax? Or underscore tax? Let's find out. So I click Adam and let's make it 5 million. So 123, 123. Now I get the 4%. Now, what do you think the citizens will be? Do you think it would be 4% as well? No, it's 0. Now, why is that? Well, that's because this property, it set our variable, our tax property equal to 4% only for Adam, and not for any of the other objects that we created. And that's what can really make properties really useful, is that they're basically this piece of code that will determine the value of a variable for you for a specific object. So we didn't set citizen.wealth equal to anything, so it didn't even have anything to evaluate with, nothing to evaluate with. So since our tax property as a double is a null, it just gave us 0. And that's about it for this tutorial. I hope this was useful for you. I hope you understand classes a lot better. Practice them on your own, because they are a very important concept in any programming language to understand. And, well, I hope I see you next time.